Have you ever gone into the woods thinking you were just going to have a peaceful weekend, only to come back with a story so terrifying, so unbelievable, that even your own family doesn't believe you? People say it was just the cold or the wind playing tricks on us, but we know what we saw, what we heard. And if you're planning to go camping in Oregon's Mount Hood National Forest, you need to hear this. It was last October, a time when the leaves were turning and the air held a promise of colder days. My friend Eric and I were both completely stressed out from work. The deadlines were relentless, the meetings endless, and the pressure was mounting. We desperately needed a break, a chance to disconnect and recharge. We tossed around a few ideas, but nothing seemed quite right, until Eric suggested a trip to Mount Hood National Forest. It was about 3 hours outside Portland, far enough to feel truly remote. A place where we could escape the city's noise and the constant demands of our jobs. The plan was simple. Go off-grid, immerse ourselves in nature, and forget about our worries, even if just for a little while. We packed our gear, loaded up the car, and set off, eager for the peace and quiet that awaited us in the wilderness. It was perfect, exactly what we needed. The air was crisp and clean, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth. The trees were putting on a spectacular show, their leaves ablaze in beautiful shades of orange, red, and gold. Sunlight filtered through the canopy, creating a warm, inviting glow. We found a secluded spot near a quiet stream, the gentle sound of the water adding to the sense of tranquility. We quickly set up our tent, making sure it was secure and ready for the night ahead. As we looked around, we realized that there was no one else around for miles. It was just us, surrounded by the vastness of the forest, a welcome change from the crowded city streets we were used to. The first night was exactly what we had hoped for. We gathered some firewood and built a roaring fire, the flames crackling and dancing as the sun began to set. We grilled some hot dogs over the open fire, enjoying the simple pleasure of a hot meal in the great outdoors. We shared a few beers, reminiscing about old times and laughing at silly memories. It honestly felt like we were 18 again, carefree and without a worry in the world. We talked for hours, watching the stars emerge in the clear night sky. But then, right around 2 a.m., I woke up to a weird noise outside the tent. It wasn't an animal sound, not like anything I'd ever heard before. It was more like a scraping, a dragging sound, something heavy moving through the underbrush. After a long day of hiking, we finally settled into our campsite, nestled deep within the woods. The darkness was thick, the kind that swallows sound and light. We were exhausted, but something felt off. An unsettling stillness hung in the air, a stark contrast to the usual symphony of the forest at night. I tried to shrug it off, attributing it to fatigue and the overactive imagination that comes with being alone in the wilderness. But as I drifted towards sleep, a distinct sound pierced the silence. I shook Eric awake, my heart already beginning to pound in my chest. There was this slow, deliberate crunching sound, like someone walking over dry leaves. Not an animal, not running, not scurrying, just pacing around our tent in a circle. A slow, methodical circling that sent shivers down my spine. It was too heavy to be a deer, too rhythmic to be a raccoon. It felt intentional. My voice trembled slightly as I called out, "Hello? Is anyone there?" The only response was the rustling of leaves, amplified by the oppressive silence that followed. No answer, just silence. A heavy, expectant silence that felt more menacing than any shout could have been. I grabbed my flashlight, my hand shaking, and cautiously peeked out. The beam cut through the darkness, illuminating the immediate surroundings. Nothing, just the dense undergrowth and the looming trees. But the sound kept moving around the tent, a constant unnerving reminder of the unseen presence, like it knew where we were, like it was toying with us, circling its prey before the final strike. I quickly zipped the tent back up, my breath coming in ragged gasps. "What was that?" Eric whispered, his eyes wide with fear. I didn't have an answer, but I knew one thing. We weren't alone. We debated leaving then and there, but the thought of stumbling through the dark woods, vulnerable and exposed, was even more terrifying. So against my better judgment, we decided to stay. Big mistake, a decision I would soon regret. The rest of the night passed in fitful, uneasy sleep, punctuated by every snap of a twig and rustle of leaves. As dawn finally broke, painting the sky in hues of grey and pink, we breathed a collective sigh of relief. We packed up quickly, eager to escape the unsettling atmosphere of the campsite. But the woods weren't done with us yet. Around midnight the following night, after setting up camp in a new location, we started hearing whispering. Faint, low whispers from deep in the woods. A sound that seemed to slither through the trees, wrapping around us like a cold, clammy hand. It wasn't in English, or any language I recognized. It sounded like chanting, a rhythmic, guttural drone that resonated deep within my bones. It kept getting louder, building in intensity, then would stop suddenly, as if someone flipped a switch. The abrupt silence was even more unnerving than the chanting itself, leaving us suspended in a state of heightened anxiety, waiting for the sound to return. It was a psychological game, a deliberate attempt to unnerve us, to break our resolve. We huddled together in the tent, our hearts pounding in unison, listening to the unsettling symphony of the woods. We couldn't take it anymore. The chanting, the whispers, the oppressive atmosphere, it was driving us mad. We grabbed our flashlight, our hands trembling, and cautiously got out of the tent. The beam of light danced nervously through the trees, revealing nothing but shadows and swirling mist. There was no one there. The woods were silent, save for the gentle rustling of leaves. But as we scanned our surroundings, our eyes landed on something that made our blood run cold. On a tree near our camp, there were marks, symbols carved into the bark, freshly cut. The wood was still raw and exposed, the scent of sap mingling with the earthy smell of the forest. Definitely not there before. We had checked the area thoroughly when we set up camp. The symbols looked ancient, like something out of a forgotten age, some kind of spiral in jagged shapes, like runes or glyphs from a language unknown to us. They were intricate and unsettling, hinting at a deeper meaning, a hidden purpose. We didn't touch them. We just stared, mesmerized and horrified by their presence. They seemed to pulse with an unnatural energy, a silent warning that we had stumbled upon something we shouldn't have, a secret that was meant to remain buried in the depths of the woods. The silence was broken only by the frantic beating of our hearts. Then, out of nowhere, a flicker of movement in the periphery. We saw something move, a tall, thin shadow standing maybe 20 feet away, just beyond the tree line. It was difficult to make out any details in the darkness, but its presence was undeniable. It didn't move. It just watched. Its stillness was more terrifying than any aggressive action could have been. It felt like we were being observed, scrutinized by something ancient and malevolent. Panic seized us. We turned to grab our flashlight again, desperate for a better look, to confirm what we were seeing. And when we looked back, it was gone. Just vanished. As if it had never been there at all. The trees stood silent, the shadows danced in the wind, but the figure was gone. We were done. We didn't pack, we didn't think, we just ran. We ran as fast as we could, away from the campsite, away from the symbols, away from the shadow in the woods. We didn't stop running until we reached the car, our lungs burning, our legs aching. We drove away, leaving the woods behind us, but knowing that we would never truly escape the memory of what we had seen. Panic seized us. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig amplified our fear. We knew we couldn't stay there, not even for another minute. We packed everything in a frenzy, shoving our belongings haphazardly into our backpacks. The urgency was overwhelming. We decided to hike back right then, in the dark. The thought of spending another second in that place was unbearable. We had to get away, no matter the risk. The hike back was the scariest part. Every shadow seemed to hold a threat. Every sound made us jump. The darkness was absolute, the trees looming like silent watchers. Our flashlight started flickering, casting erratic shadows that danced around us, playing tricks on our eyes. It was as if the forest itself was trying to disorient us. My phone, even though it was off, started vibrating and wouldn't stop, a constant, unnerving buzz in my hand. No messages, no signal, just glitching. The screen flashed erratically, displaying nothing but static. It felt like some unseen force was trying to communicate, or perhaps to warn us. The air grew heavy, thick with an unnatural stillness. Then we heard it, the whispers again, a chorus of voices just beyond the edge of hearing, closer this time, like they were following us, dogging our every step. The whispers seemed to swirl around us, a disembodied murmur that sent shivers down our spines. We didn't stop. We just ran, for miles. Our lungs burned, our legs ached, but we dared not slow down. The fear of what was behind us propelled us forward, pushing us to our limits. Every rustle of leaves sounded like footsteps. Every shadow seemed to conceal a lurking presence. The trees seemed to stretch on forever, the darkness unrelenting. We stumbled blindly through the undergrowth, desperate to escape the oppressive atmosphere of the woods. We didn't stop until we saw the road, a beacon of hope in the overwhelming darkness. When we got to the car, I fumbled with the keys, my hands shaking uncontrollably. I turned it on, and the radio blasted static, a deafening wall of noise that filled the car, amplifying our already frayed nerves. Loud, full-volume static. It was unbearable, a cacophony of white noise that seemed to vibrate through our very bones. We frantically tried to turn it off, to find a station, anything to break the oppressive silence that followed. And then, for just a second, a voice cut through the static. A distorted, raspy voice that seemed to emanate from the very depths of the radio. A voice that said, "Don't come back." The words hung in the air, heavy with menace, a chilling warning that echoed in our minds long after we had driven away. We've talked to rangers, locals. No one knows what the symbols meant. Some said we wandered near old ritual ground. Others say we imagined it. But we know what we saw, what we heard. If you ever go camping in Mount Hood, stay near other people. And if you hear whispers at night, don't answer them.